All right, good afternoon. Um, let's get started. Just standing. Okay, so starting with some arm circles. Okay, and straight up to the side. Okay, keeping that core nice and tight, standing nice and tall. Little baby circles. And you can start getting a little bit bigger and a little bigger, a little bigger. And working towards those full circles. Now we'll stop. Okay, we'll go forward or just reversing the direction. So small circles to start. You can get a little bit bigger, a little bigger. Then try and get as big as you can with those circles. And now stop, interlacing those fingers behind the back, pull those knuckles down towards the ground first, and then those hands can come away from those hips. Nice and tight through that core. Let's release those arms up overhead. Interlacing those fingers this way now, core tight. Find that nice side bend over to that right side. Bring it back up. Bend it over to that left side. And bring it back up. We'll interlace those fingers behind the head. Pull those elbows in and then lift the head up. So elbows are pointing up towards that ceiling. And then we'll release those arms up. This time, flip those palms up, core tight, reaching over to that right side. Bring it back up, over to that left side. Back up, flat back, releasing those hands as we fold. So bring those hands to the shins or to the knees with the back as flat as you can. Bend those knees a little bit more, slide the hands down a little further, and a little further. Good, hold it there. Keep breathing. And then we'll bend into that right knee, twist the left arm reaches up and down, switching sides, bend into that left knee, right arm reaches up and down. Good, rise back up, reaching those arms up overhead, flip those palms, point them up, pull the hands back as hard as, or as far as you can without arching through that low back. And again, side bend over to the right, center to the left, and center. Release those hands. Hands can come down to the shin, flatten out that back, slide those hands down as low as you can without rounding through that low back. And then we'll bend those knees a little bit more. Hey, bend into that right knee, twist, left arm reaches up and down. Other side, bend into that left knee, right arm reaches up and down. Going to come all the way up to standing, interlace those fingers, point those palms up, side bend to the right, up to the left, and up. Release those hands to the shins. Trying to get a little bit lower each time. Now, bend into the knees, right knee a little bit more than the left as that left arm reaches up, and switch, other side, and back down as we fold. Now this time you can let that back round and hands come to the ground, or maybe that's too far, they can come up to the ankles. Just let that head, neck hang heavy. And now bending into those knees a little bit more. Those hands can stay on the ground. We're going to lift the left leg up, big step back, lower that knee down to the mat. Okay, start here with the fingers down by just pressing the hips forward. So stretching out through that hip flexor. Core is tight, so on those fingertips. Not a lot of weight on the fingertips, really light through the fingertips, not a lot of weight of the chest on the thighs. A little more active through the legs. And then we'll twist, Plant that left hand, right arm reaches up. And that hand can lower down. Straighten that front leg, pulling the right toes back. Then rebend into that knee. Okay. Plant or lift the back knee up, hold it here. So again, that leg, the back leg is really strong. Knees pulling away from the ground as the hips are pressing down towards the ground. Now we'll step that foot forward. Other side, lifting. Right leg up. Big step back. Lower that knee down again. Strong through the legs. Not a lot of weight on the fingertips, not a lot of weight of the chest on that thigh. Pressing those hips forward. And now that right hand will plant, twist. Left arm reaches up. Lower that hand down. Straighten that front leg. Pull the toes back. Then we bend into that knee. Lifting that right knee up off of the mat. Really strong through that back leg as those hips start to press forward. And then step that right foot to the top of the mat. Find that flat back. And fold. And inhale, rise up again. Reach those arms up overhead. Interlace those fingers. Palms will face up. Core tight. Side bend to the right. Inhale it back up. To the left. Inhale it back up. Now interlace those fingers behind the back. Pull the knuckles down first. Hands come away from those hips. Slight bend in the knees. Hips will press back. Chest hovers above the ground or parallel to the ground. And then we'll release those hands down to the mat. Go ahead and step it back to a plank position. Let's hold this plank. Let's go for 3, 2, and 1. Shift that weight forward if you need to, lower onto those knees as we lower ourselves all the way down to the mat. Point those toes, roll the shoulders down and back, lift that chest so the elbows are pulling back, chest is pulling forward, neck is neutral. So almost like we're gazing down towards that top corner of the mat. Soften it down. Now this time we can press up a little bit higher. Keep pulling those shoulders down. That chest will pull forward. Hands are pulling back. And then we'll send those hips up into that down dog. So big stretch through the calves and the hamstrings. You can pedal out those feet. Bend one knee, press that other heel down. Spend a moment there, getting that big stretch. And then we'll switch to that other side. And then we'll step those feet to the hands. Flatten out that back. Fingertips can stay on the ground. We're going to lift that left leg up. Big step back, lower that knee down. Resting the hips forward. And then we'll twist that right arm up. The hands lower down. Straighten that front leg. Pull the right toes back. Fold. Hamstring stretch. And rebend into that knee. Same, lift that back knee up off of the mat. Stay in that same lunge position though. And then we'll bend that knee, step that foot forward, other side, lifting that right leg up. Big step back. Knee lowers down. And we'll twist left arm up. And lower the hands down. Straighten that front leg, pulling those toes back. And rebend into that knee. Straighten that back leg, lifting that knee up. And step it forward. Flat back on that inhale. And exhale, plant those hands down. Let that head hang. And then plant the hands. Step it back to our plank. Shoulders over those fingertips. Go ahead and lower it down. Point the toes. Roll the shoulders down and back. So lowest part of the rib cage stays on the mat. On this first one, back down. Now we can press, lift it up a little bit higher. Keep those shoulders away from those ears. And then we'll send those hips back to that down dog. And now step those feet to the top of the mat. Find that flat back and fold. Go ahead, inhale, rise up to standing. We'll interlace those fingers again. Palms will point up, side bend over to the right side. Inhale it back up. Exhale over to that left side. Inhale, bring it back up. Now from here, bring those toes together, or at least a little bit close together. Hands will come to heart center. Sink those hips down so they're coming more into a chair. Knees are coming forward as those hips are pressing back. So trying to keep that chest up, but try not to put a huge arch through that back. Sit low, low, low. If you reach those arms forward, it helps you balance. We're sitting even lower. We're gonna go all the way down onto the ground. Keep slow, control lowering down, and then we'll bring it back onto that tailbone, lifting those feet up, holding it here. Good. Chest is lifted, reaching through those fingers. Let's go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Extend it back down. Now you can keep the shoulders down. Okay, arms can just come right by your side. You can hook your hands underneath your hips. Okay, but I want you to work on pulling that low back flat down towards the mat as we do this. Okay, so we're working all of those core muscles. Now from here, we're going to start with the feet up. We're just going to do little flutter kicks. Now this is going to vary between all of you, but we're going to start to go a little bit lower with the flutter kicks and a little lower. Little lower. Now, if you get to a point where you feel like that low back's really starting to lift, so go ahead and stop there. Okay, maybe we can go lower and even lower. Maybe those heels are just a few inches above the ground. Let's hold it wherever you're at for 10. The most challenging spot for you. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now wherever you're at, hold it, pause. Let's go 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Rest it down. Let's reach those arms overhead. Reach to the toes, reaching to those fingertips. Now from here, stack those knees right over those hips. Interlacing those fingers behind the head. And we're going to twist. Left elbow comes to that right knee. Inhale, bring it back. Twisting to the other side, right elbow to the left knee. Center and twist. Center and twist. Center, twist. Let's go 10. Really slow. 9, 8. Extend that leg out. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and release. Hug those knees in. And then we'll move into a hip bridge. So just lower those feet down, arms are right by the sides. Roll those hips up. Roll it back down. We got 5 or 4 more. Lift and down. Good. Lift. So really using the core and the spine through this. Roll it down. The tailbone will be the last thing that lowers, and then the first thing that lifts on the way back up. Shouldn't really feel this in your back at all. Should feel it in your glutes and your hamstrings. Lift it up. Hold it for 10. Grip those toes and the heels. 9, 8. Scoop that tailbone up. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower it on down. Go ahead and roll it on up to a seat. Swing those feet around. Let's come back to that down dog. Let's step those feet behind the hands. So get that little bit wider stance, heels in, toes out. Sink on down into that squat. Knees are out, chest is up. Hands are at heart center. Really active, driving those knees out. Let's lower that right hand down. Left arm reaches up. And switch to the left hand down. Right arm reaches up. Bring it back to heart center. So 3, 2, 1. Straighten those legs as we fold. Now we'll step that left leg back. We want that right foot out wide, almost where it was with that squat. So your hands are inside the knee, hips are pressing forward. Okay. We're not rotating and I'm not twisting. We want to think the both hip bones are pointing forward and pressing forward instead of that left hip bone rotating forward a little bit more. Now from here, we'll lower down onto those forearms if that's accessible. The right toe can open up a little bit more. Knee opens up nice and wide. So for a couple more breaths. Then back to those hands. And step it back. Down dog. Other side of the left foot steps outside that left hand. Back knee down, chest pulls forward. And then when you're ready, go ahead and lower down onto the forearms. Might feel different on this side. Maybe it's not happening. Maybe one's lowering down. Maybe the other one's just a little farther away from the ground. You can always say one hand, one forearm. Hold it there for a little bit. Maybe you find you can walk both hands down. And then come back to those hands. And step it back. Down dog. And then we'll go on to your backs. We'll cross that right ankle over that left thigh for that resting pigeon so you can grab onto the hamstring, or maybe you have the mobility to grab onto the shin. Just keep that tailbone down. Feel like those vertebrae are lifted off of the mat, so nothing feels like it should be digging on your spine, should be digging in uncomfortably into the mat. It should be nice and flat, nice and lifted. Big stretch to that right outer hip. And go ahead and release. Switch sides. Left ankle crosses over hamstring or shin. And go ahead, release. Sit down, let's hug, right knee in, left leg can extend out and twist that knee across as that right arm reaches out. Bring it back up, switch sides, left knee in, right leg out, and switch. And bring that knee back to center. Go ahead and come up to a seat. Seated, cross-legged. Hands on those knees, shoulders relaxed down, closing down those eyes. Big breath in through the nose. Head out through the nose. Couple more times. Good, and blink those eyes open. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. We do have intermediate yoga this afternoon, so hopefully you can make that. But otherwise, have a good one. See you back tomorrow.